Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday Brief. My name is Nia Krofi Smatali. Coming up in the headlines, residents of La Paz go on a demonstration against numerous accidents and deaths on the N1 highway following the death of a 7-year-old girl this morning when she was knocked down on the highway. President Mahama has released the third batch of appointees and nominations. We'll discuss his appointments and creation of merger of some ministries as the list have come. We'll also be speaking to the police ahead of the Supreme Court ruling on the NDC's joint petition. These and more in a moment, as well as some wellness and international briefs. Thanks for staying with us. Now to our first story. The death of a 7-year-old girl on the La Paz end of the George Bush Highway on Monday morning prompted residents of Abeka, La Paz and other surrounding areas to embark on a massive demonstration. Residents used wooden planks, cement blocks and metal railings to block off the main N1 road, causing huge vehicular traffic. Personnel of the Ghana Police Service were forced to use rubber bullets and other gadgets to drive away the teeming crowd who had converged to partake in the demonstrations, but the residents would not budge. Some threw stones at the police when they tried to clear off the road for traffic to flow. The police, in an attempt to maintain law and order, arrested some of the agitated residents. According to residents, over 10 accidents have occurred on the George Bush Highway this month alone. They blame the lack of an overpass on the Abeka La Paz side of the road and overspeeding by drivers as major reasons for the accidents on that stretch of road.
What do you expect to happen here? Now tell me, where are road signs here? Where are signs that will tell the people that there is the community here? So slow down, speed limits, calm down. Where are those signs? There's nothing of that nature. We have spent all this money to just have fencing here. And you say we shouldn't talk? When death is increasing here, just January, we have 10 deaths. Do we have to sit down and wait? The month is not yet ended. And the authorities sit down there. Nobody's talking about it.
In fact, overhead no one sama you person for the phone where omo you overhead my omo so yaka omo nye and ma agent is on area for ni nyina say an area omo here for the phone no mo ba ha no oni omo here e kasa. And me feel say we a big problem bia enye to go but first time no understand and enye juma na basa.
They say they go so higher thing. Ya ji go for sika na say overhead omo anye and once they go for pre-press and people go 1 million na ha and they be the person here sika na ji no obi win contact for network ka say network ka we
the motorists that when they are driving in town, no matter there's a fact that this is a motorway or it's a highway, but then you have to take into consideration, the lives of the people around the community, the area where you are driving through. People always set their time that within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I have to reach my destination. We should remove that thing from our mind. We are driving through town, and when we are in the heart of the city, and where we have a thick crowd of people around the area, motorists are advised that they should be moderate. A child of 7 years is need a high standard of care. Okay? Adults can easily cross without a problem. Even sometimes adults have a problem, but a child of 7 years crossing the road means that they need a high standard of care. So the motorists have to exercise, high standard of care when they are driving through this type of road.
Well, those were some views we sampled from the accident scene earlier today at the N1 highway. Earlier you saw the MP for the Okankwe North constituency, Elizabeth Kwachu Saki, and also we heard from the police. But we're trying to make contact with the National Road Safety Commission to get a response from them on how best we can curtail the accidents on the N1. It's been something that has been happening ever since the N1 was commissioned. But whilst we try to get in touch with them, let's do something that has to relation with tomorrow's court ruling. Party supporters often besiege the Supreme Court premises during the hearing of the election petition by the NPP. This has caused some problems for security detail to maintain law and order there. We've now been joined on the line by DSP Freeman Tete, who is the Accra Regional Police PRO, to tell us about the arrangements they're making for tomorrow. Hello, good afternoon to you, DSP Tete, and thanks for joining us. Hello. Hello, good afternoon to you, DSP Freeman Tete, if you can hear me. Hello, DSP. I'm not too sure the DSP can hear me. Let me try again and see. Hello, good afternoon to you, DSP Freeman Tete. We'll try and work on the connection to DSP Freeman Tete, and once the line goes through, we'll get an update from him on security arrangements. Let me try once again. Good afternoon to you, DSP Freeman Tete. Good afternoon to you, DSP Tete. Hello? Okay, looks like we're having a bit of a challenge with DSP Tete's line, but we'll rectify that and we'll get back to it. But let's move on to some other story. 39-year-old lawyer Bernard Ahiafo has been elected as the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the Akachi South constituency in the Volta region. He beat 3 other contenders with 286 votes out of 348 total votes cast at the primaries Saturday afternoon. The seat became vacant after MP Eduardo Ajaho was elevated to the position of Speaker of Parliament. Well, in other stories, the NPP says it will not be participating in the by-elections in the Volta region, particularly the Boem and Akachi South constituencies. They say they will not be participating in that by-election. We'll get you more details on that after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us here on the Midday Brief. Now let's get back to our earlier story about the often scenes we see at the Supreme Court whenever the hearing for the election petition by the NPP is coming up. It has caused some problems for security detail to maintain law and order there. Let's get back on the phone line. DSP Freeman Tete is the Accra Regional Police PRO. DSP Freeman Tete.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Okay. First of all, we want to find out what are the security arrangements, what are they going to be like for tomorrow's ruling on the NDC's joinder motion?
We will have a very comprehensive security arrangement in place. We have done a lot to improve on our security arrangement. The Directorate of Operations has put in a lot in place so that we don't register any shortfall in our arraignment. An incident occurred during the last session of the court, and we wouldn't like it to happen again because we've received a lot of bashes, and then we've also had a few corrections here and there that we believe that will help to enhance our future security, especially when cases of the nature are before the Supreme Court and other courts that will warrant people trooping in to either witness or to express solidarity or whatever. So we will be extending coverage. We have to expand the parameters of police operation within the premises and outside the premises of the court.
Okay.
Basically, these are the things, and more non-uniform policemen and women will be planted in at vantage points to augment the strength of the uniformed policemen. Beside that, to the road that is the high street in front, the portion of the high street in front of the Supreme Court will no longer be a converging point for people, whatever shape or form.
So if I understand,
what we intend doing is that it will now be a thoroughfare. Yours is to pass the place, no standing. So whoever conveys there will do that at his own or her own rate. So we are appealing to people not to convert anywhere, but rather when you have a business around, you have to be seen moving, not to be standing.
But DSP, there's a station somewhere around the Supreme Court area. There's also the Tama station, and there are some people also who trade around that area. So how do they also go about their business tomorrow then?
Well, people are not trading on the main road, neither are they trading at the pavement, because trading at the pavement is illegal. So there are designated places for trading. So if you are trading on the main route, then you are doing it at your own risk. And if you are trading on the pavement on the high street, you are doing it at your own risk. We are not extending it to where the banks are. It will end somewhere around the Kwame Nkrumah Museum or around the Center for National Culture, the road that leads to all those places. Because we are going to extend security coverage to all those places to make sure that nowhere near the Supreme Court will be used as a convergence point.
So then
it is not intended to abuse anybody's right, because there are special security arrangements just for a period as the case goes on. And then whoever is holding any weapon of any form, whether keen or not, will be discouraged. And if you resist, because we are issuing warning to any member of any political party or any member of the public who will be coming there with any weapon of special, not to bring it. The Accra Regional Police Commander has already issued that warning, and I'm only re-emphasizing or reinforcing the warning issued by the Accra Regional Police Commander. Weapon of any form, whether keen, is not allowed closer to the premises of the Supreme Court.
But I suppose then that traffic on the high street will still flow normally. Traffic
would definitely flow. The police will, as usual, be at hand to direct traffic. What we will be discouraging is no stopping, and then no by pedestrians particularly, because whoever is walking must be seen walking, not to stop or converge there.
Finally, also, we know that often when the case has been called, you've had to screen people before they entered the court premises. Will it still be the same, so that if an individual has a case, then it's also going to be heard almost around the same time as tomorrow's ruling?
It will still be the same. The problem that we encountered during the last hearing was nowhere near the premises of the Supreme Court. It wasn't within the compound of the Supreme Court. With the Supreme Court, there wasn't any problem. We never encountered any difficulty. So arrangements will remain the same, with the exception of filling some loopholes that we probably might have detected. But the fact remains outside. That is where the supporters most often come to converge. So we are doing everything possible to ensure that people don't converge. Neither do people come there with canes or with any weapon at all that will be harmful to someone. And also converging there to taunt one another, which will lead to the breach of the peace, is what we will be discouraging on tomorrow.
All right. I think we'll leave it here for now. DSP Freeman Tete, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We've been speaking to DSP Freeman Tete. He is the Accra Regional Police PRO. He's been giving us an update on the security arrangements they are making for tomorrow's ruling. But let's move to the Ashanti region and still stay with issues of security concern. And the Ashanti Regional Police have arrested 11 criminals. We'll get an update right now from our correspondent, Mohammed Nuruddin, who is on the line. Good afternoon to you, Mohammed.
Good afternoon, Smart.
So we understand 11 criminals have been arrested. Are they armed robbers? What sort of criminals are we looking at here?
Yeah, some of them are armed robbers, while others are thieves. This morning the police briefed the press, and these armed robbers and then the thieves were shown to the press. Yeah, among these people, we have one guy which the police said is a notorious armed robber, and he has been sentenced to 50 years imprisonment in 2009 with hard labor by the Kumasi Circuit Court for cases of robbery and rape. And he is called Kwesi Ayaga alias Adempa. The police were surprised when this convict was released, and he involved himself in an armed robbery case and was unfortunately arrested by the police. So they are saying that Kwesi Ayaga is a notorious robber, and he has been with his other colleagues to terrorize the people, taxi drivers, and other people in the Kumasi metropolis. And there was one guy too who was arrested with a human skull, and we understand that he was to sell the hair to one malam at Asawasi for certain things that we don't know for now, and some other people too who were also identified as mobile snatchers in the metropolis. So I'm speaking now, all these 11 people are at the police headquarters in the Kumasi metropolis.
So were they all arrested at one place or at different places and at different times?
No, for Kwesi Ayaga, he was arrested at Ebuakwa, and then his other colleagues. But they were arrested at different places.
Okay.
Yeah, they were not arrested at the same place. They were arrested in a different place. You know, all of them had different cases. Those who steal phones, and then those who also snatch people's car. So they are the police headquarters.
Okay. Do we have any indication when they will be prepared for court?
No, for now the police haven't said anything about that. They haven't told us when they will be sending them to court. But I believe that we'll be speaking to the police and find out when they will be sending them to court.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Nuruddin, for that update. He tells us 11 criminals ranging from armed robbers to one notorious armed robber who's been on the police wanted list for some time. Some car and phone snatchers have all been arrested in the Ashanti region, 11 of them. Thanks for that update, Nuruddin. Now, in protest over the December 7 election results, the MPP has boycotted a series of national events, and although it presented members of Parliament for the inauguration, it has seemingly distanced itself from the formation and establishment of government. Information reaching Joy News indicates that the New Patriotic Party's MPs, who are members of the Appointments Committee, will, however, participate in the vetting of ministerial appointees. The majority in Parliament intends to question the presence of minority MPs on the Appointments Committee when vetting of new appointees begins later this week. The Deputy Clerk of Parliament has announced through a statement that 6 nominees for ministerial appointments will be vetted on Thursday and Friday. We take another quick break. We'll return here on the Midday Brief. When we come back, we'll get to we'll get to go into details about the appointments of ministerial nominees. Stay with us.
Get the Digibox now. Visit us on www.multitvworld.com or call 0302 211 68025 for a multi-TV accredited dealer.
Welcome back to the Midday Brief. Before we get into discussing the nominees, President John Dramani Mahama has left Accra today for a state visit to the Republic of Turkey. He will continue from Turkey to Ethiopia to attend the 20th ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of States and Governments of the African Union in Addis Ababa from January 25 to 29. The visit is at the invitation of the Turkish President Abdullah Gül to discuss shared objectives in advancing trade, economic and cultural cooperation between the two countries. But as I indicated earlier, President Mahama has made up to about 31 appointments, but the dynamics are quite different. For instance, he designated E.T. Mensah, Alban Bagbing and Cletus Avoka to coordinate the implementation of presidential priority projects relating to the construction of 200 senior high schools, 10 teacher training colleges and 1 public university in the eastern region, the development of ultramodern regional and specialist hospitals, and the development of new international and regional airports. He has also nominated Dr. Henry Seydou-Dana as Minister Designate for the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Traditional Affairs. Some ministries have been given makeover with new names or additional responsibilities, but the question really is this really necessary? We've been joined in the studio by Atiq Mohammed, who is a policy analyst, to help us understand a bit more of these issues. Good afternoon to you, Atiq, and thanks for joining us. First of all, what do you make of the nominations so far? About 31 we have.
Yes, so far I think he has defied a lot of expectations. Normally before some of these things begin, the president, people always build up expectations and you can easily tell who is going to go to which ministry. But it appears he has developed an entirely different style. He has appointed people that a lot of people did not expect to be appointed, and he has decided to vet some people, and for me it brings a lot of freshness into our governance, that our presidents should not be predictable. And he has attempted to preach, or by what he has done, promote the principle of all-inclusiveness. Even though people have raised concerns about the kind of all-inclusiveness he wants to build. But in principle, I think it's a good thing that he tries to draw expertise from various angles, not necessarily from politicians. And John Mahama, His Excellency, is under pressure to deliver. More so that the last election was highly competitive. It was very much about issues. So the extent to which you are able to survive your 4 years depends to a great extent how you are able to make meaning of your promises. And I think having done some debriefing within the NDC has come to the conclusion that it will be very difficult for him to be able to deliver on some of the promises he made to Ghanaians if he wants to satisfy party expectations, instead of relying on expertise to be able to do so. So I think the pressure to deliver is what has pushed him to, for instance, people like Dr. Sule Garba, Dr. Rimon Atugba, and some other unknown people. These are people, for instance, Dr. Sule Garba is somebody who is very much versed in public policy issues. And to have appointed him as the coordinator of policy means that you really mean business, you really expect results at the presidency as far as policy issues are concerned. And some few other names. So for me, his appointments really are ones that are meant to see results or get some results. People like Alban Bagbin and then E.T. Mensah, these are experienced hands. So, and in coordinating some of these things, you don't need fresh names or fresh persons to be able to do. Because to be able to build 200 secondary schools within a period of 4 years, if he gets the opportunity to stay on for 4 years, it's not going to be an easy task. People like E.T. Mensah have seen it all. They've been through the PNDC, NDC days. They see how projects are developed and implemented. And you would need such experienced hands to be able to help you deliver the results. And that's why I said from the beginning that his style is much more about how do I deliver the results. And so every step he has taken, even though it is contrary to popular expectation, is about how am I able to deliver results.
So could that explain why we're getting the makeover or the change of in names and added and subtraction of responsibilities for some of the ministries?
It could be, but for me, I don't think that necessarily you need to change the labels of ministries in order to be able to deliver the results. For instance, energy, oil, and petroleum.
Sorry to cut in, but one of the government spokesperson, we spoke to him on caucus, I think about 2 weeks ago. He says the new direction or the makeover names of the ministries shows the person's direction, the direction in which he wants to take the country.
I personally don't see that really, because, for instance, Ministry of Energy, Oil and Gas. Oil and gas fund is a subsector under energy. So to just bring a subsector and add it to the main name, for me, does not show any sense of direction. You could still maintain Ministry of Energy, but intensify. If indeed you wanted to invest a little more in the oil and gas subsector, you could still maintain the energy as a ministry. And underneath it, like it has always been, you have a deputy minister in charge of the electricity subsector of energy.
Which
and then
we used to have under the just ended administration.
Exactly. So you could still maintain it, but intensify your investment a little more in the oil and gas sector. Because by bringing it up, it means that you have extra priority intentions for that particular subsector. So you don't necessarily have to make it look as if the ministry is now about energy and oil and gas. It doesn't show any sense of
the Women and Children's Ministry, for instance, is now made Gender, Children and Social Protection Ministry.
You see, the Ministry of Women and Children's Affairs, if you originally, women, when we talk about gender in this country, largely, gender issues, we've realized that there is a deficit in gender mainstreaming, in the sense that a lot of the time, that is why women are calling for affirmative action, and it is something that I have written quite some pieces on it. It's something we need to do, especially when it comes to participation of women in politics. The gap is so wide. So that ministry, I think one of the original intentions was to make sure that you give women the needed fillip to be able to, bridge that gap. So gender issues in this country, and having a ministry for it, largely is about how do you empower women and, to be able to catch up. So you don't necessarily have to change it to gender. It's still the same thing. And children was originally in the old ministry. Social protection, largely when we talk about children, it's not only about children, vulnerable groups. That's what the ministry largely was doing. And so it's about how do you promote or provide social insurance for vulnerable groups. So you don't, like I said, need to...
So essentially this makeover names we are getting is not necessary.
They don't really change anything as far as policy expectations and scope, in my opinion, are concerned. They do not change anything as far as what you are supposed to achieve by, as a ministry is concerned. It's still going to be the same targets, but probably the NDC government enjoys final labels to be given to ministries. Probably that is why. Otherwise, I don't see any additional scope that is being given to these ministries by virtue of the change in name.
Okay, there used to be a ministry for fisheries under the Kufuor administration. It was scrapped and brought under agric, under mills, but now we have Ministry for Fisheries and Aquaculture.
It's the same thing, you see.
And we have the agric separated.
Aquaculture and fisheries,
they're essentially the same.
No, they are the same. You understand? And so to say fisheries and aquaculture, my understanding of fisheries, and aquaculture is largely about fisheries and so on. So if you create a separate ministry and you call it fisheries and aquaculture, all these are sub-fields under agric. Like I said from the beginning, if you want to intensify investment in some of these sub-fields, you don't necessarily need to create separate ministries for them. You still can maintain them under the bigger Ministry of Agriculture, but intensify your investment. But if you create a separate ministry, you create a bureaucracy around it. And we always complain about government not having enough resources. So if you create a new bureaucracy, it means government has to spend separately, and I'm sure in large volumes, on that particular ministry. And you could have optimized your resources if you had maintained it still under agric, and you would have still, achieved the desired results. But if you create a separate ministry, it comes with its chief director and all other persons making up the bureaucracy. And the problem of this country is ratepism. Things don't work quickly in our civil service.
So is it going to then affect the delivery mode that the president wants us to believe he's coming up with?
Well, probably his intention is this will guarantee quicker returns. This will guarantee easier implementation of government policies, in the respective fields. But I don't see it that way. It's just a question of what are your priority targets for this particular ministry. For instance, in fisheries, you want to up the production of fishes in that particular subfield to a particular target. Then you need to have some strategic plans that what do I do within these periods or the subject period that you'll be in office? What are the things that I need to do? And you can do that investment whilst the fisheries is still a component under agric. You don't necessarily need. Kufuor tried it. When NDC came, in their last time, they realized it was, for want of a better word, a redundant creation. So they decided to annex it to the Ministry of Agriculture. And I found it to be a laudable idea. They rather had commission on fisheries and so on. And for me, that makes it easier. You don't create a huge bureaucracy that has its own problems. And yet you will still be able to deliver the results that you desire.
39 or so nominations so far from the way things are going, are we likely to go beyond the 75 they had?
Well, it is possible. Well, as for going ahead, what I envision is that so many big names have been missing, obviously, from the substantive ministerial list. What I suspect, and this is usual with politicians, is that they would want to, of course, appease them and appease their supporters. Already we've seen signs of agitations in respect of some names that have been dropped. So in order that you appease your constituents and appease the people involved, you would want to make them Minister of State. And I find that creation as just a luxurious creation meant to satisfy politicians.
There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them already. Al-Hassan Azong
MP
from PNC.
He's continuing from his last portfolio.
Well, Al-Haji Mustafa Ahmed, Elizabeth Ofusui Jare, Fifi Kwete, Al-Haji Limuna Mohammed Muniru,
Okay.
and then Comfort Doye Kujo Gansa. They have been appointed Minister of State at the presidency. I saw quite a number of questions about this on Facebook last night when the name came out. Everybody's asking, what are they going to be doing?
These are titles without schedules. And I see that as a huge burden on the scanty resources we have. And like I told you, it is meant to appease some particular constituency that our people, in their estimation, have worked so hard for you to win. Now it is time for them, and people see ministerial appointments as opportunities to share the goodies, rightly or wrongly. That is the perception. So they feel that now that it is time for us to also have our share of the goodies, we are saying no, our man should be left out. So the president is under pressure, and like we saw in Tamale, agitations build up, and before you realize, they spiral into something else that could destabilize the comfort of your government. So in order that you don't have such situations, you create these titles without schedules. You just come to the castle, take your salary at the end of the month, and your people will feel that we've given you a ministerial title. But for me, and so I sense that it is likely that it is this particular segment of the ministerial appointments that will push the number beyond the 75 that we had. Otherwise, if he's just going to limit it to the number that they had in the previous government, without having to bow down to the pressures from the various constituents, I think he could maintain the same number. But the pressures that are already emanating are quite enormous. And I'm not sure he would have the comfort and presence of mind to work with such pressures at play. So he would want to appease them and will create them. But the deputy ministerial positions equally could push the president to have more ministers that could push the number beyond 75.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of names that people are expecting to become deputy ministers.
Final question to you. Dr. Henry Dana has been appointed Minister for Chieftaincy and Traditional Affairs. We understand he's visually impaired, and the Ghana Federation for the Disabled essentially is happy about this appointment. What do you make of it? Do you expect more of this?
Yes, we should not necessarily ministerial appointments. We should begin to give some vulnerable groups the opportunity to also be heard, and at the highest level. And I think this is a good example that we have faith in our vulnerable groups. We have faith in people who, by reason of nature or whatever, have become disabled, and that they still have the ability to help in governance. They have the ability to contribute to national development despite their challenges. I think it's a good example, but I don't want to see it as just a token meant to create an impression that, oh, for us, the all-inclusive government means we even recognize the vulnerable. It should be something that the president and his government really mean, and should, replicate this in other areas, not necessarily at the ministerial level. I think it is good for us. And more women, I expect to see more women in governance. And I think so far we've had about 4 or so appointments. I expect to see more.
Okay. Thank you very much, Atiq Mohammed. Atiq Mohammed is a policy analyst, and he's been helping us look through the list of nominations made by President John Dramani Mahama so far. This is still the midday brief here on Joy News on Multi TV. Let's move on to some other stories. 24 persons have been confirmed dead in a road crash that occurred on the Tamale-Buipe Road in the northern region Monday morning. The 24 included 23 persons on a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vehicle, with registration number AS893112 traveling from Kumasi to Tamale, and the driver of a Kia truck with registration number AS883311 traveling from Tamale to the Buipe market. We'll be joined on the line by our correspondent in the northern region, Mohammed Nuruddin, to give us an update on this situation. Hello, good afternoon to you, Mohammed Nuruddin. I don't think we seem to have Nuruddin on the line yet, hello, good afternoon to you, Nuruddin.
Hello?
Hello, Hashmin, sorry.
Yeah, hello, Smart.
Hello, good afternoon, Hashmin.
Yeah, hello, Smart.
Okay, can you tell us what caused the accident in the first place?
Well, according to some eyewitness, the accident happened somewhere around Buipe on the road leading from Buipe to Tamale. The Northern Regional MTTU commander or officials of the MTTU in Tamale are still investigating the issue, and our understanding is that it will be briefing the media as to the exact cause of the issue. So we are all waiting for them to come out from an official point of view as to what the really cause of the incident is. But at the moment, the body of the victims who were involved in the accident have been brought to the Tamale Teaching Hospital morgue, and an announcement will be effected for families of the deceased to come for an identification.
Okay, so Hashmin, where are the casualties as we speak? Are they at the hospitals? Where are they?
Well, like I said, they have been deposited at the mortuary of the Tamale Teaching Hospital.
Okay, we'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much, Mohammed Hashmi, for that update from the northern region. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll bring you some wellness and news from across the world. Stay with us. Welcome back, and this is still the Midday Brief, and thank you so much for joining us. Jennifer Jane Asante is in the house. She has some wellness and some briefs for us. Over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much, Smart. Have you noticed how hot it has been lately? I'm sure you're drinking a lot of water, and if you're using bottled water, is that bottle sealed? A lot of people are recycling water bottles for drinking water and also for the sale of food drinks. It has become rather prevalent, exposing the public to some serious health threats. Now, some studies have also indicated that the reuse of these bottles aids in the spread of communicable diseases, and they might even lead to food poisoning, infections, and some serious skin problems.
Some players in the production of local foods such as ice kenke, sobolo, pito, asana and cooking oil collect used bottles from various sources for packaging of their product for the market. Unfortunately, these poorly cleaned bottles, which are usually used to sell foods that contain sugar and milk, make it even more dangerous as the sugar and milk act as substances on which bacteria feed and grow. Many of those who reuse the bottles do not even clean them with running tap water and soap, but rather in bowls of water that easily get contaminated as chemical residues may be left in them, leading to food poisoning and the spread of diseases.
We do not know how well these bottles are washed, what the previous content had been. Nobody is doing any carryover test to see whether the bottles are the soaps that were used or detergents used in cleaning these bottles have been rinsed off completely from these bottles, and then they pack these products into them. The products are not properly sealed, and therefore, anyone who patronizes these products is most likely going to suffer some form of discomfort.
The Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, is therefore warning against the use of these recycled bottles as it puts the public at risk.
We are not discouraging you, but we can't also allow you to do that at the expense of public health and safety. So, if you are a consumer out there, and then you are fond of patronizing this Sobolo and all that, now there are people who are producing Sobolo and using virgin bottles, well packaged and preserved. Some are kept in refrigerators. Go buy these ones. But other people who are selling these things off the streets and then you want to do that, you put your life at risk.
On personal basis, even when these plastic bottles are washed properly with hot water or bleach, one may have unconsciously released chemical compounds into the bottle, ending up contaminating whatever content is put in the bottle. To avoid putting yourself and the public at risk, it is advised that bottles should be punctured after use to ensure that nobody can reuse them to package food and drinks.
Barack Obama today will swear to protect and defend the United States of America, even as there's instability in Kabul and Algeria. We have these stories and others from around the world in our international brief.
A South African court has found Nigerian militant leader Henry Oka guilty of masterminding the 2010 car bombing which killed 12 people. Oka was convicted of 13 counts related to acts of terrorism. He was arrested in Johannesburg a day after 2 car bombs exploded during the 50th anniversary of Nigeria's independence. He had denied the charges, though his militant group AMENT said it had carried out the attack.
So let's get sporty. Now, after Ghana's 2-2 draw with Congo, the head coach of Congo and players from both sides shared their views on their first encounter after the game.
No, Ghana, you know, is the best team of Africa with Ivory Coast, and we are very proud to play against a game of this level against a team like the Black Stars. I think that Ghana, it's a very strong team, and I'm very proud of the players because they did a tremendous job to come back from 0-2 to 2-2, and they were not far to finish 3-2 on the opportunity of Yusuf Malumbu.
Very proud, a bit disappointed because we took the lead 2-0 and DR Congo came back strongly and equalized both goals. But in all, I have to give credit to DR Congo. They were very confident, played a very good game, and we are going back to the drawing board, correct our mistakes and see what will happen on Thursday.
You know, things happen in the game, you know. Things have happened to the past champions, you know. Talking about Spain, they lost their first game, and then they came back to win the game. You know, in tournaments like this, things happen. Things can happen. You know, I would like to congratulate the Congolese. They did so well. They started the game so well, but our mentality was all right, and then we came out by 2 goals to 0, and they were able to prove they were also mentally strong, and they came back. You know, this is the first game. We've got 2 games to go, and then it will depend on the players. Now everything depends on the team. Now we will make sure we demonstrate it and make sure we qualify from the group.
All right, so enough of Asamoah Jan, and let's go to showbiz. Our very own Joy TV is about to give you a whole new experience with the First Lady. And speaking of First Ladies, U.S. President Barack Obama has, get this, a playlist out for his inauguration. And the very first car used by Batman has just been sold.